Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to talk about replacing C-clip axles on a Chevy rear end and wheel studs. Before we get started, yes, I know we're working on a Camaro, and yes, I'm wearing a Mustang t-shirt. I grew up on Mustangs. My dad had two 66 coupes when I was growing up. I had a 65 coupe and a 65 fastback, so don't hate. If you've never seen inside the rear end of your car, this is what it looks like. Now, I had a Detroit True Track installed because what this does is when the car's headed straight, it acts like a regular locker. So both wheels get traction, both wheels get power. If you're turning and one wheel loses traction, it works like a regular limited slip, which is kind of cool. So for a street car you're gonna drive on the road, it's great. Now to take this thing apart, you're gonna have to rotate the pinion, or if it's still in your car, rotate the drive shaft of the car so you can get to this part. First thing you need to do is remove the retaining clip that holds that in. I spared you the pain and agony of watching me do it because I didn't have one with the right size holes. Make sure you got the right size holes. So next thing you have to do is remove this part. And for that, I just use a pair of regular pliers and pull that out. That's your retaining plug. Next piece that we got to take out is the axle spacer down here on the inside between the axles. Okay, so for that, what I'd recommend is just rotate the pinion or the drive shaft in the car until it rolls out. And that's what you end up with. This goes down on the inside between the axle shafts to help hold them in place, okay? Now, because this is a Chevy C-clip, what we've got to do is remove the C-clips. So I'm going to push the axle in so we can get to the C-clip that holds it in. And voila, there's your C-clip. Now let's pull one out on the other side, excuse me, while I adjust that axle. And then we're gonna just spin it around. There it is right there. Ta-da! Okay, so now all you have to do to remove the axle is just pull it from the end of the rear end and it comes out. Nothing to it. And once you got your axles out and you need to change the studs, super easy to do. You just got to be a little careful with it. Now what I've done is I've put a little piece of wood on the floor here and I set the end of the axle on the wood. Now, one by one, just go through, hammer out the axle stud. Just like that. Okay, once you've reinstalled the axles, what we want to do is install our new wheel studs, right? Left one off to show you how it's done. Now, I'm replacing my wheel studs because the ones from the factory are a lot shorter than the aftermarket. Now, the reason I need the aftermarket is because the Right Stuff rear disc conversion kit has a thick rotor, so the factory studs are too short. So I've got to get long. You got to replace your wheel studs with longer studs so you can actually mount the wheels back onto the car. So to do this, it's fairly simple. Take your stud, reinsert it. Get you a couple of really thick washers. Okay. I mean, you can use as many as you want. I think 2 is okay. Set those on. Grab one of your lug nuts. Go ahead and seat it. Now, if you have a conical lug nut, don't put the tapered end next to the face of the axle, right? Put the flat end next to the axle, okay? Go ahead and screw it on all the way, so that way you know that the stud is flush with the face of the axle. Okay, and then use your trusty old air wrench and then just drive it home until the back of the wheel stud is flush with the face of the axle. Okay, now that we got the wheel studs on and the axle's in place, it's time to put this thing back together. So what you want to do is push the axle in as far as you can from either side to get it to sit all the way in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install the seat clips in each of those tracks. Kind of hard to see, the lighting sucks. But anyway, install the seat clips on the tracks and then pull the axles back out to make room for the spacer. Seat clips are back in place on the axles. So now what we're going to do is pull one of them out to seat it. And now we can push the other one all the way out. So now we have room in there for the spacer, which is going to go next to keep the axles separate. There we go. Now you can see the spacer in there. And like I said, what that does is it helps to keep the axles locked into position, keeps the seat clip from popping out, keeps them where they're supposed to be. So the next thing we've got to do is install the retaining plug, which just drops right into place here. And now the next step is to install your retaining clip on the inside here to keep the plug in place. Okay. Now that we've got the retainer clip reinstalled, everything's locked back into place like it should be. Now the next step, the fun step, the best step, is we put our gasket on and then that super dope chrome differential cover. So now we have new axles. We have new studs. I forgot to take the lug nut off of that one. New studs on that side, chrome diff cover. Next part's going to be to install the Right Stuff Detailing rear disc conversion kit. Looking forward to that one. We'll see you next time. Haha, tricked you. You thought it was over. I forgot to tell you. So when you put the bolts on the rear diff cover, you don't want to tighten them all down in a circle. You want to tighten them up alternate, opposite of each other, right? So top, bottom, corner, 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 right? Now here's the dilemma, is the bracket for the brake goes here, and there's another bracket for the brake that goes up here. So I don't have those yet. That didn't show up. The rear flex hose that attaches to this one, I don't have that yet. So I'm going to do those once I get it underneath the car, and I'll just tighten all this stuff up then. Another point to bring up is if you're going to use the backing plates for the Right Stuff disc brake package, you have to put those on first before you put the axles in, okay? If you're going to use the disc brake backing plates in the disc conversion package, you have to put those on first because they bolt to here. They won't fit over the face of the axle, obviously. So put those on first and then put your axles in. Okay, so keep those things in mind, and we'll see you for the brake install.